Hey. I'm Josh. That's Tiffney.
Hey.
AKA the Southern Sensualist. Give me just a second while I get set up here. So, Radical Apologetics, for those of you who don't know, Tiffany's watching herself on my laptop. Radical Apologetics is an idea I had where I basically just wanted to encounter people with authenticity. People who, whatever they believed, they were entirely about it. They were all in. We've got puppies running around. Our oldest is at youth group. The next oldest is sitting here with a puppy trying to behave. So,
Pray for us.
But, so apologetics is just the defense of what you believe. Without any emotion, anything, just why do you believe what you believe and how do you support it? So for the first episode, I wanted to talk to my wife. So to start us off, where are you from, Tiffany?
Originally from Alabama. Can I just say that since I've lived in several places?
Yeah.
Okay. Alabama, born and raised.
Several places in Alabama?
Several places in Alabama.
Okay.
From the center of the state to one of the most southeastern parts of the state to one of the more northwest parts of the state, back to the center of the state. So again, all Alabama.
Okay. So if you were to define like what it is you believe spiritually, if somebody was like, so what's your deal? Like, what would you say?
What is my spirituality?
Yeah.
My spirit is awakened and flourishes whenever I'm in an intimate relationship with God. And my God is the Daddy God, Abba Father, Jehovah Jireh. All those words I don't know, that's the man who brought, or the being, the entity that created Jesus. And I believe that my salvation is found through the blood of Jesus.
Okay. So would you consider yourself a Christian?
So I used to throw that word around very easily, but then I met you and married you, and I have different thoughts about labeling myself as a Christian. I'd rather say that I'm a believer in the sacrifice of Jesus' life for our sins, and that through him I am saved. So I want to live my life like Jesus.
Okay. Word.
Is there a word that's a follower of Jesus?
That works. That's a great description.
That's me.
So how does following Jesus, what does that look, how does that alter your day-to-day life? Like, if there's a person with no spirituality and Jesus is added to it, what makes your life different from just not having that? Like, as far as day-to-day.
What is my life like not having Jesus?
No, what is your life like because of you identifying as a follower of Jesus? Like, how does that change your day-to-day life?
Well, ever since I was a little girl, I have had a relationship or sought out a closeness and relationship with God from the age of 8. So I don't remember what a life without him was like, but I can say what a life not pursuing him is like. That fair?
Yeah.
So I can say that a day in the life of walking after God and a relationship to grow stronger is if I'm by myself. I like to take time to be able to either sing to Him, with Him. I like to, for me, it's having thoughts of what He is up there thinking about me, what I'm doing. And up until recently, it was a lot of condemnation and a lot of judgment type feelings that caused me to feel like I always needed to do better, be better. And then something happened that now it's this friendship to where it's kind of like sometimes I'll do something and I think, man, he's probably really proud of me right now, and I think he's giving me like a fist bump or something. So it allows me to have a lightheartedness in my approach, in my relationship with Him, which in turn also allows me to be a lot more laid back with other people, whether they're believers or not. It's just about, hey, it's cool. Like, life is good. We all get second chances.
So, one thing I want to ask you about.
We didn't prepare for this, and I'm not sure I'm ready.
So, why do you keep referring to your God as a He? Or is it just because Jesus was a He, and you said you're a follower of Jesus, and so you naturally say He?
To be honest, it has always, in how I grew up and in services and gatherings and things, I guess I've always heard of Him as a He, and there's this authoritative, is that a word?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, there's there's something about this masculine, strong being that it's hard to think. I know he is as much she as he is he, but in my mind, I feel more comforted in being able to just like release and relax in him versus a her. Because I've never personally I've never had that type of relationship with a female. So it has very much been like a man that can handle all the funk.
Word? That's fair.
Thank you. I was wondering if it was fair. Yeah.
So, what is the difference as far as you said from 8 years old? So, what's the difference between how you did following Jesus growing up and the community of Jesus followers that you were a part of versus what you're in or pursuing now? Because like if you've got like that long of a track record with like one specific type of faith,
yeah,
you know, it's got to hopefully like there's some type of morph and like progression. So
it was very much that sounds so bad. It was very much a convenience from a young age. Like from 8 until probably like 14. And
I'm like Barbara Walters.
I know, that's what I was thinking. Barbara, Oprah. But so from 8 to 14, it was like everybody's doing it in my family, like this is the right thing to do. And I felt something then, but I didn't know how to approach it. I didn't know how to build on it. Nobody taught me. There was no direction. And so something happened when I turned 14 and I got into doing human videos or dramas, you know, where you do like Now Behold the Lamb or Shout to the Lord, heaven forbid. It's been done. That it was through music. I love music. And so it was like through music I was able to move my body in a way that I had not seen other people worship. And it was like this emotional driven connection that I still couldn't understand and I still couldn't explain, that then through my teen years, that's what I held on to. And moving into young adulthood, being married and having children, it became I need him, and I'm building my relationship based off of need and what, like, I've screwed my life up or I've made mistakes and now I need you to fix it. And then it became about necessity. And really until I was 30, so all those years didn't mean a whole lot as far as like, it wasn't like, God, let me give you something or let me do this just because I love you, until I was in my 30s. Now it's very much, God, it's changed so much just in almost 4 years of us being together, where it's about, I love him because he's just good. And what he's seen me through, and his grace in loving me to teach me versus condemning me, that has also changed how I approach other people and how I love people and how I love myself. So now it's about just like, that's my dude, that's my boy. And again, like, I get equal parts man, equal parts woman, but my boy, my girl, that's my best friend. And I go to him for good things, for great things, for conversation. I didn't have that until I was in my 30s. So I think that's a huge change from 8 to 30.
So you're saying that the first time you felt a connection with who your God is was through dance. It wasn't through traditional means of church.
Oh yeah, no, it didn't happen from a preacher yelling and spitting from a pulpit.
But that may work for some people.
I know, but it wasn't for me.
Work.
And that's what I had when I was a kid. It was a lot of like, what is that called whenever preachers are very
Demonstrative.
Yes, great word.
Word.
Isn't it weird that there's the word in the beginning is
yeah, yeah, she went there. So
for 5 more minutes.
Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, so it sounds like a lot of your relationship or your spirituality is based on it's based on one-on-one connection.
Yeah.
So how do you get all of your direction strictly from one-on-one connection? Like, there's some spiritual paths where they have like a prophet or a messiah or a certain deity that they model their lives after, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's Muhammad or Jesus or, you know, any of these like various like elders of those faiths. But like, there's also certain ones where, like, for instance, shamanism, right? Where it's strictly communication between them and that spirit. There is no like instruction of this is how that spirit behaves. There's nothing to study. It's all imparted.
Okay.
So like, do you find, from what I was hearing about like your spirituality and your relationship, it's mostly imparted, more like shamanism than it is studied like Judaism? Mm-hmm. Right? Because Judaism is very much studied, right? You don't even get to the mystical things of Judaism until you've been studying it for 40 years.
Yeah. And I know that I could study more in my faith, in my spirituality, Um, like reading the Bible for one, like seeking that knowledge, reaching out to people who have walked different walks and that would be considered elders. It's not an approach that I have ever gotten jiggy with. I very much, partly because I've always struggled to comprehend the Bible that I was raised on, which was a King James Version Bible. And yeah, it's more about that connection and intimacy that I get from my relationship with him, that again, nothing was taught. Like, that wasn't taught, that just happened. It was organic. And it's what has been true and undeniable and unquestionable, where I would find myself questioning things when it came to biblical principles of, well, it says this here, but it says this here, and I've always struggled with black and white.
Yeah.
And couldn't find the gray. So for me, it was easiest to be like, all right, I may not understand everything when it comes to the Bible and studying that, but I know that he's real and that there's no denying all the things that come from him.
All right, so one hardball approach.
You gotta go to bed with me tonight.
So, if you get all this intuition from God, right? And as far as like, you get all this inspiration and like one-on-one communication from God,
Mm-hmm.
but you identify as a follower of Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
right? That like narrows it down drastically, you know?
Yeah.
So do you study Jesus, or just attach the Jesus label to the God that you have this relationship with?
I think I understand what you're saying.
Because like Jesus had, you know, there's certain things that can be imparted through meditation and through different forms of seeking and connection. You know, whether for some faiths it's praying in tongues, for other faiths it's forms of divination, like, you know, whatever. But there's also, this is what they did, you know. So when you look at your faith and your spiritual walk, is it attaching Jesus to that because that's what you've always known? But that doesn't change the experiences you've had.
Mm-hmm.
Or are you really trying to model after like the character of Jesus that we have all these records of?
So I know that I am not great at living an example of Jesus's life.
Word.
So it's kind of like this. When I feel like the fist bump situations happen,
Yeah.
I feel like that's Jesus.
Word.
When I feel like, depending on what's happening, when I need to crumble, it could be a God situation that I feel like I'm wrapped up.
Yeah.
But there's something about my mind that imagines Jesus's merciful embrace, like when he was on the cross and, you know, he had the thief, and like that for me, that is something more feminine, I guess, that's easier to rely on. But then in situations and in real life, when it's other people, I feel like when I'm hard, like when sometimes hard lines have to be drawn, and you helped me see that Jesus wasn't always this wonderful, loving, embracing person. It was sometimes hard truths and accountability and, you know, like cracking the whip. And that's why I allow myself to model my life after that, to remember there's a time and a place for correction and structure.
Word.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I feel you. It's almost like identifying the different parts of the Trinity.
Yes. Yep.
Cool. No, it's not weird at all. It's actually like very Catholic.
Oh, well. I won't.
She was about to do it.
I'm not Catholic.
So, is it difficult for you to be married to somebody who practices their faith different than you?
I got chills. Is it difficult to be married to someone that practices their faith different from me? In the beginning, it had its challenges. To say that it's really easy still, it would be a lie. But I respect so much of your approach to your spiritual walk, or my husband, his spiritual walk, that I think is beautiful.
What questions do you have for me?
Are you ready for brownies?
Tiffany and Leona made brownies. You got me put on the spot.
If you could have the ideal situation to worship your Father, Daddy God, what would it look like?
Well, my ideal situation to worship them, because to me God is, just as much mother as father. But my ideal situation would honestly be a drum circle around a fire. There's something about that abandonment, about being around a fire. Whenever you show up to a building, there's always like a time, right? There's a time it starts, there's a time it ends, there's a schedule, there's a system, there's a program. But nobody's in a hurry to leave a fire.
Yeah.
And some of the most magical times I have ever had with my God was around fires with people who don't worship the same God as me. But the intention was there and the unity was there, that like we're all here for something bigger than ourselves. And my God showed up for me. I also believe that there's something powerful about the drums. There's a pulse and a rhythm to it. And whenever people show up around a fire in a drum circle, and then especially, I'm always going to be a sucker for a string band. So if the strings are out there getting it and the drums are going around the fire, and there's a level of surrender to the moment that happens. And I don't find that in any other settings right now. I'm trying to, like hardcore. But right now I just don't find anywhere else where there's that level of abandonment. Everybody wants you to leave. I mean, just for real.
Yeah. All right, we gotta go.
Right. Like, well, and that's the thing is like, if you think about it, that's the majority of like our communities and relationships.
Yep.
Is we want punctuality, and then we want you to piss off.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because like, hurry up, everybody get here, we gotta eat. Hurry up, get here, we gotta start. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And then it's like, God, I can't wait till everybody gets out of here. And there's no surrender to the now.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the now is the only place that you can experience God or experience the other, you know. But that answer your question?
Yeah.
What else you got?
So do you find yourself seeing God in other people who don't model after Christianity more so than someone labeling themselves as Christian?
There was a thing, I saw it in Wisteria and I saw it in some other places. I mean, shoot, you can Google it, you know. But there was this trend of going around, especially in like the festival community, where they would do these like classes or workshops on Christ consciousness. And I never saw that level of devotion in traditional church. But the thing is, like, you can't write off traditional church or write off the communes and the festivals and all these different cultures, these two dichotomies. Like, you can't write off either one of them, because like as soon as we go to either side all the way, yeah, we box ourselves in. And that's why there's something really cool about what you were talking about the purity of your spirituality, that it's entirely vertical, you know. Because there's some great people in the church who do some great, kind, compassionate things, but they have limits. And then there's people who show up at a festival and take freaking half a day to unpack and set up camp, and then Sunday morning they done gave all their crap away. You know, and it's like, dude, how are you getting home? You know?
Yeah.
And so there's a healthy balance, but for me, you know, I consider myself more of a Christian mystic. I pursue Jesus, but I believe that there's value to the old ways. And I think that the more heady community, they've got part of Jesus's character right. And I think there's some people in the Christian community that got part of it right. But the parts that people have right that I can tolerate the most consistently, I find outside of the church. That's just...
That's real talk. He was honest.
I was honest. But yeah. So, do you feel like we have a pretty healthy compromise between having very different, not very different, but no, they are very different, you know, approaches?
What do you...
So, like, for instance, if I'm just like calling it out.
All right, call it out.
I would say that like Tiffney would like a worship, an all night or a exaggerated night of prayer and worship at a church.
Not so much prayer, but the worship, yes.
I have a meditation altar with crystals and sage, and my singing bowls, and a couple candles. That's pretty different. Right? Like she invited me Friday night, right? No kids. Been working, a lot of stuff going on. And I get home and there was this singing thing, worship night thing.
A gospel worship night.
Yeah.
So if you can read into that, it was a gospel worship night. It was gonna go down.
I'm not going.
He would have if he wouldn't have been so tired.
I wasn't going. I was gonna go for her, but like part of our compromise and one thing that we agree on, because like we both use the Bible as the foundation of our faith. We pursue it a little differently. But one part we agree on is where it says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. When people don't say what they mean from here, it leads them to a place of stress, anxiety, depression, worry, resentment, fear. And so we're getting better about like her not just agreeing to something because she thinks I want it. And I'm getting better about just being like, nah, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to get in the car after I've been in the car for 12 hours all day. I don't want to. I want to hang out with you, but I don't want to do that. Brownies are done. We got a couple comments before we get off of here. Hey Becca, hey Ashley. Word, she's about the fire too. So she was saying she's looked for words for what her faith is because she's a Christian, but she practices her faith so much differently than everyone else she knows.
Welcome to the family.
Word. Hey. Did it. So Paul said, let every man work out his own salvation with fear and trembling. And I like the way a professor, I think it was a professor I had, it may have been my dad, who was a professor I had. Not literally, but he just taught me a lot. But he said, yes, let each person work out their own salvation, but do it through the lens of understanding the forces that you're messing with. And I think that applies to anything spiritually. If you want to like go explore some things and like seek out some stuff, cool. Like, but do it with respect to understanding that the things you're tapping into are bigger and more powerful than you. So if you're tapping into Jesus, be careful to leave your life in the hands of the New Testament, because it'll jack you up. 'Cause it doesn't fit what we're doing now. We'll just put it that way. If you're pursuing Wicca, if you're pursuing Thelema, if you're pursuing Hindu or any of these things, when you open yourself up to just say, I want to know, you're liable to find out. And you know, that's why it says in fear and trembling, like understand what you're messing with.
You'll have some great stories to tell.
Yeah, for sure. Live to tell them, you know. But anywho, she said, my little heart is so happy right now. Oh, that's sweet. So, anywho, yeah. So this was our first episode. We've got a couple guys coming up. I got a guy coming up Sunday who's going to sit down and talk with me. I think is going to be really interesting. Shout out to Joel. Love you, boo-boo. And we're going to keep this thing going. And, you know, all paths are welcome. So if you want to come on and talk about your background and you're open to just like some honest, hard questions, I'd love for you to come over and sit down and show me how you back up what you believe. Love you guys.
Shameless plug. The Southern Centralist.
You guys have a good night.